Привет из Сингапура. С вами передача «Голубь мира», где разбираем крутые навыки. Спрашиваем на английском, отвечаем на русском. Подтягивайте язык или смотрите перевод в тайм-кодах. Let's talk about mind-management and let's start with the definition.
It's funny, Maxim. Mind-management maybe is the first skill in the school of troubleshooters, which was pronounced the same in English and Russian, and I am very happy about this because when I'm talking in English, I know that sometimes you feel this is error, and maybe you even feel sorry for me because I now talking to everyone, telling to everyone that you are my English teacher. I never was learn English, but now with you. Okay, and let's switch to mind management. Mind management was developed, if I have not mistaken, by Edward de Bono, who was a scientist and also researcher and author of 40 books for memory and creativity thinking. And he was inventing such kind of intellect cards with view as our synapse. Synapse, it's a kind of connection in our memory. It's like a star. And he invented cards. In the middle, you will put the main idea, the main problem, and then there would be some branches, and from this branch will go other branches. And for example, now mind management is quite useful when you write context of your book or context of your site.
And in terms of the principles, fundamentals, or even building blocks of the management, what are they?
First, by opinion of Edward de Bono, it is much easier for us to remember something which is written in star way, because when we use tables, when we use a plain text, not all people, especially отстающие в развитии, especially retarded, could remember or could understand. But if we will, by his opinion, simulate the way how information goes through our brain, it was easy to remember. And Edward de Bono was specialized to learn the persons which was unable to remember and to understand such kind of stuff. And he was successful because it was really easy to understand when you personally write it and you remember it. Second, I told already, usually we use sheet of paper, which is laying horizontally, and you put the main idea on the top and the nearest ideas close. And this is the main branches. And then you put maybe some other ideas, which are smallest or question marks. And then you also continue to put branches. Usually there is no need to use like third or fourth level of branches. And also there are a lot of different software applications which will help you. When you write by yourself, okay, you will memorize it. But if you will use this software, this is looking like magnificent. The more branches you have on the second level, the more wider would be your branch, and they have different colors, and you could switch places, and they also could be rearranged automatically. It's like a magic.
So in terms of the applications, we already covered a few. What other use cases or maybe the areas where using the mind maps could be quite efficient?
I already told two areas of application. This is contents of the book or context of the site. There was a case, this was a team from Raiffeisen Bank, Austrian bank. They came to Alpha Bank Kiev and they offered in view of mind management or intellect card, the way how we could check applicator is this okay or not to give to him or to her credit. But when I was rearranged this to the table, I immediately found that there are some gaps were present. So I don't know any other good example to use this is mind management. It is okay for young people. It is okay for startups, but this is not okay for huge companies and for resourceful people.
You slightly touch on my another question, like how it could be compared with a spreadsheet. But before we go into this one, let's actually talk about different levels of the mind management, if they exist.
Can you please repeat once more?
Let's look into different levels of mastery of using mind management, if they actually exist.
Thank you, because I was missing these levels. Okay. First level, you just use paper and you draw it by your pencil. Second level, you use some kind of software, maybe free one. And the last one, use software which you paid for. There is some additional features, like I told you, rearranging, different wideness of the branches, and also comparison, and also you could make your intellect card by automatic way. For example, you will write like doubles, like pairs of the words, and he will put application will put it in like lines which are connected with dots, and then you can connect the dots. It's like a game.
And in terms of the comparison of the mind maps with the, let's say, Excel spreadsheets, what are the benefits and how, what are the pros and cons of using a different way of thinking, whether it's the tree view of the thoughts or whether it's the structured table?
I think that is a good way for communitarians to put their thought on the place. Because if you're a technician, you will never use intellect cards. You will always use spreadsheets because there's very systematics. I have a saying which I pronounce like this. If you use tables, first you create a form, and then the form create a содержание, content. Because you will find that some gaps inside your table and some of them are empty, you will think, okay, if I choose right dimensions, so I should rearrange or to fill all the tables. Table, this is three-dimensional model. First dimension is line, second dimension is row, and what is sign on the cross line and row, this is third dimension. But intellect card in my management, this is, I think, two-dimensional because there are no structure. And when you use a table, you usually should think and fill all the tables, all the cells. But when you have these branches in intellect card, you could use sometimes in one branch like 3 sub-branches, but for another like 10. And for humanitarian, it's quite normal. They are not intent to have symmetry.
Correct. And true indeed, I would say when we're using the tree view representation, it often gives the room for, misrepresenting the information or even hiding things that you're not really sure. Or especially when it comes to the comparisons, you will realize that there are certain metrics or the values that should be there, but it's really hard to, see like what exactly should fill the exactly form. So my next question will be what is the future of the mind maps, whether it will exist?
I don't know exactly, is there any future for them? Right now we have a very good computers. Right now we have a great software. Right now we have a lot of applications which are support mind management. For example, even in Visio, Microsoft Visio, you could create such a things. But you could create them in Word, in Excel, in PowerPoint. Maybe in PowerPoint and Visio it's the most easiest way. But there are also some programs which could create this mind cards on output. For example, if you use Excel, so you could upload some additional libraries, and even Excel could write you in this mind management. I also have seen that consultants of Accenture uses some plugin or add-ons for Keynote and PowerPoint to create from the lists this intellect cards. But right now there is no need for it. When you're sitting and in restaurant and write something on napkin, or maybe you going to think on your vacation and you draw by the palichka,
Stick.
by the stick on the sand, it is okay. But in all other cases, better to use list or tables.
Well, my last question then will be how knowing about mind management could help to make this world a better place.
I hate this kind of intellect cards. I hate mind management, but anyway, it is good to know because, for example, when you're going to tell something very complex for your child or for when you're trying to explain something in kindergarten, it is okay to use mind map. So it is easy way to show to someone who is not specific, who is not expert in your area, how something is built and how connections could be established in the real world.
Лучшая майнд-карта– это таблица, она расскажет вам гораздо больше историй. А мы рассмотрели навык майнд-менеджмент и чем он полезен именно вам. Всем мира!